Yeah, so I mean, like I like Splice and everything, but at the same time, it it's kind of heavy on my system. Like I don't have like a rocking system or anything like that, but it's it's good enough to get Logic up and running in Pro Tools. Like it's not a crazy computer, but at the same time, like Splice just like my boot up, especially my when I had it open during boot.
Yeah.
Holy moly, shit just completely stop my computer. Just kernel panic every time.
Yeah, chugs the shit out of everything. I usually have it fires up on startup and it's usually okay, but like if there's a project in there where it's got to upload, it's got to think about it for a second. Yeah, I'm not too keen on their file sharing system. I mean, I like their sample thing. I like the a la carte, be able to get your samples just one at a time. I think that's a dope service, and you're starting to see a lot more sample sites go to kind of that model. Not all of them.
Yeah, it's trending that way for sure.
Yeah, because, I mean, you buy a sample pack, dude, sometimes you're not going to get but maybe 20% usage out of it. So depending upon the sample pack, I mean, obviously some are better than others.
Right.
But, I mean, I've definitely bought sample packs where I've used it and been like, damn, I overpaid for this because I didn't use shit, basically.
Yeah, that's the worst, man. Getting burned on a sample pack, especially like back in the day too, like where there wasn't, drum brokers or like prime loops or any of that stuff, like to where you had a trusted name. You're just kind of rolling the dice, like I hope this shit works. I hope this is good.
I hope this is legit. That's funny that you mentioned prime loops too, because like I used to think his prime loops was kind of, I don't know, they were kind of bootleg to me for a while.
Yeah.
But they definitely came around. Like they started getting all the Illmine packs and stuff like that, and then a lot of their other packs, their prime loops branded packs, actually really started to step their game up. Because there's a bunch of them on Splice, and I was browsing through those the other day, and I was like, wow, these are actually pretty fucking decent at this point.
Yeah, definitely. And since we're talking about like sound packs and shit, I just want to give a quick shout out to Willpower. He has a podcast too, Free Game Podcast. I'm sure I don't know how many people listen to this, but if you do listen to this and you're a producer, you should also listen to the Free Game Podcast by Willpower. It's great. He always has like crazy like producers on and whatnot. He has like music professionals on and stuff as well. So, But anyway, he put out a drum pack not too long ago called Syndromes. And I'll tell you what, it is like becoming my go-to. Like even in the one shots,
nice.
Like the one shot drum samples that he put in there.
Yeah,
they're just so crispy sounding. He has great kick drums. Like just not, I won't want to call them vanilla, but like kick drums that don't have a ton of bottom on it to where like you can't even work with them,
right?
But
drums that don't clog up the whole entire mix, because that's sometimes what you get with like hip hop drums. Like I remember, back probably 5-6 years ago with like the Trauma drums, he was like, these are the best hip hop drums ever, but like they were just so fucking involved. They were just so detailed. Like there was just so many noises going on with them, and they were dope, but like it was hard sometimes to fit them into a track because they were doing so much. And then some of them were severely like overprocessed, oversaturated, so you got some pancaked ass sounds out of them.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Trauma drums still.
Yeah.
But if it was the only kit that I had, I'd be kind of fucked. I'd be like, I mean, even saying that, like you could probably take the default sounds on whatever DAW you're using and then layer them with some Trauma drums and kind of, get started.
Oh,
you know
for
what I'm
sure.
saying?
They were dope drums. Like there was just a couple of packs. I think I ended up getting a deal with him that was like 3 packs, and like one of the packs that came out of there, like all of them were super duper limited, like way hard, to the point where to the point where like when I went and mastered a track down, like the kick drum just died entirely because it was just so over processed. Not all of them were like that, but I can't even remember the name. He had like the Guerrilla Warfare pack. There was like the First Aid pack.
Right.
That First Aid pack was pretty nice.
He had some classic packs in there, man.
Yeah.
There were some packs that I would use like on a lot. Maybe I'm kind of looking at it through rose-colored like lenses too, because his packs were some of the first beats that I sold.
Oh,
you know, like I remember actually using his packs to get money, and I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna keep fucking with this too.
Yeah, well, for hip hop, man, like there was at the time, like there was no drums that were sounding like those. That like they were completely unique, 100%.
His loops were the craziest. I think like if I still have those, I still have all my Trauma drums, but
I do too.
Yeah, for sure. Like I should really go back through those loops and like see what I can do with them now on like the new software that I have, because you know back in the day I was like using Fruity Slicer. Not saying that that's not legit, because plenty of people make a ton of fucking music on Fruity Loops now. You know?
You've stepped your knowledge game up though.
100%. Yeah, definitely grown as a producer and whatnot. But
yes, sir.
What else? Fuck. What's up with your Niners, man? What's going on, dog?
What is that really what we're gonna go into now? You really want to start this on that kind of fucking note?
What's up with your Niners, dog?
They're fucking trash, bro.
There's still a lot of season left.
So shut the fuck up. God, I hate you right now.
That's hilarious.
So as a lifelong 49er fan since as long as I can remember, this team is fucking garbage right now. And it's not just like Colin Kaepernick looked rusty as hell. Like he hadn't played in about a year and a half, which was pretty much what he was. And then as soon as Navarro Bowman blew out his Achilles a couple weeks ago, like any semblance of identity or hope that defense had, which was pretty minimal to begin with, because they're a pretty young defense, pretty much died with his Achilles that got blown out. So, I definitely feel bad for Navarro Bowman. Like that dude has just like he's been.
Didn't he just come back from an injury too? He just came back from a knee, right?
Yeah, he blew that knee out in Seattle like that, just devastating. Like nobody thought he would ever play again. Actually, there was people telling him he wasn't going to play again, and he made it back. And even last year on the road from recovery, he was kind of beasting last year. But yeah, he was playing decent this year. He didn't have a lot around him, and then he blew his Achilles out. So, man,
that has to be a wrap for him, right?
I'm thinking, like, I don't know which Achilles it was, but I'm thinking, like, if it's the opposite of the knee, like, that's got to be impossible. I mean, he's only I think probably 28 or 29.
Yeah.
Even at that age, that knee injury he had was fucking catastrophic, dude. So. Yeah, man, it's hard times in Ninerville right now. But that's my squad. That's all I know. That's what it's gonna. That's what it's gonna be until the day I die, too.
100%, and they'll come back around. The NFL is cyclical. Like your team is gonna have like some rough years, and then they'll get lucky in the draft or get a big trade, and then be right back where you were a few years ago. So
get a better coach.
You guys gotta get rid of that Balky guy. He's not. I don't even follow the Niners, and I know his name. That's all they talk about.
That guy's a cancer.
He's not very good.
I think if they had Chip Kelly and not that guy, they'd be all right. But with the two of them, that's just a bad combo. It's bad luck.
Yeah, it's tough, dude. Anyway,
God, now that we're on a completely shit note.
We're live. That's what we do. It's the audio files. My bad, man. I didn't think about your record before I got that conversation started. But
yeah,
my Colts aren't doing much better. Anyway, this is episode number 8. Yeah. I don't. You notice how I'm not going to talk about the Colts.
And moving right along.
Moving right along. This is episode 8. You know where to find us on Facebook, the Audio Files Podcast. You can also find us on SoundCloud, the Audio Files Podcast, on Instagram at the Audio Files Podcast, and Twitter is the only different one, really. It's TAFPODD. All right, TAF Pod. You can find us on Twitter, interact with us, talk to us, say what's up, submit your music like IB Quiz did, and get it played on the podcast. I promise I won't forget about the next one. I'm sorry about that, IB Quiz. I owe you something. When we get some merch, you'll definitely get some, 100%.
Yes.
So
it's coming. It comes around full circle.
100% it does. So yeah, man. Today I would just wanted to talk about that. This is going to be sort of a shorter. Wow, mumble mouth over here. Podcast today. Because we're preparing for the PMC, the Production Music Conference, tomorrow. So, it's an early flight out. So I'm going to go ahead and get some stuff settled on that end.
Got to get some beauty rest.
Yeah, but we didn't want to leave you guys hanging without a podcast this week, Nope. So we're going to go ahead and talk about some things that I saw in the audio industry that looked interesting to me, especially on the software side. We're both big gearheads over here. So I saw this piece of software on Music Radar called the Orb. I've seen it in a few other places too since I found this article on Music Radar. And it's a formant filter, which is the formant basically, determines whether you're male or female. Like, it's how we determine whether a noise or a voice is male or female. Like, it's that sort of characteristic. It's a formant filter, and it's designed to simulate the characteristics of the human voice. So it basically uses vowel sounds, and you can modulate them with the set of parameters it gives in the plugin. Did you take a look at it?
Yeah, that's how a lot of them dubstep basses are made. A lot of them growls and shit like that. That's all formant filters and EQ modulation. But yeah, the formant filters kind of automatically do that for you. So I mean, I've checked out some stuff from Audio Thing before. They have some. I haven't actually installed any of it. I've definitely looked around. They have some real just user friendly, real easy looking plugins. Not a lot of buttons, not a lot of knobs to turn. Just real. Here's what it is. This is what you can do with it, and you go to it. I think that's in a day where software is so easy to make, I think that's something that gets missed. Simplicity sometimes. Super nice to have that. Something that's just easy, straight to the point. This is how you do it. Put it on there and go to work. Yeah,
and this plugin looks super easy. I mean, did you watch the YouTube?
No.
It looks incredible. Of course, it's a promotional video. I'm not 100% going to drink the Kool-Aid without taking it with a grain of salt. Right. But just the proof is in the pudding. As far as the usability. The one thing that a video can't really hide too much is how well the UI is designed. And like you said before, they have some very simplistic design, but it's effective.
Right.
This plugin, if you aren't looking at it currently, which I know a lot of you probably won't be, it has a blue orb looking sort of XY modulation parameter in the center that allows you to kind of customize the vowel sound through three LFOs and 3 bandpass filters. So you can get really creative, and it also allows you to make custom vowel sounds, which I don't even really know what that means, but for $39 I'm probably going to find out.
Right.
It's $39. It's $40. That's exactly what I feel like the pricing they nailed. And I haven't downloaded this or bought it yet, but for sure,
is a free demo as well.
Yeah, there's a free demo as well. I probably should have downloaded that, but whatever. It's $39. I'm probably just gonna buy it and and see and possibly give a review on our Facebook page, or post a review through a blog or whatnot. So it looks like I said, it looks really cool. There's also a very dope feature on it, not just to go on and on about it, but I thought this was a highlight. The randomizer. It allows you to randomize the parameters settings at whatever they feel like would be best. So, the orb
from Audio Thing.
Yeah, check that shit out. Also, there is a piece of hardware news that I thought looked really interesting as well. Dave Smith. If you don't recognize that name, you should just go ahead and Google it. A bunch of stuff will come out. He's the synthesizing, kind of wizard sort of legend. Yeah. I've been really into modular lately, and it looks like he just put out a new modular on based on the Evolver and Pro 2 and the Prophet 12.
Right.
And it's designed for Eurorack. What are your thoughts on it? Did you take a look at this?
I did. I took a look at it. I mean, it's Dave Smith. It's like everything the guy has made as far as hardware has been gold pretty much. So, I mean, if you're in a modular and you're putting a rack together and you need a feedback, slot in there, I think this is definitely a winner. The price on it too is not bad. $275 for a feedback module is pretty decent. Sometimes these modular racks can get a little pricey, like I see a lot of the price points jumping up like $400 or $500. So to start off at $275, I think it's great. And I mean, lots of functionality on it, as far as inputs and outputs.
It has that trigger in too, which is nice.
Yeah.
You don't have to go straight audio.
A tuning on there as well, so that you can kind of get probably some crazy pitches out of it. I would love somewhere where like the pro audio stores don't carry a lot of these things in stock. And it would be great to have an audio store that carried stuff like this, even if they didn't carry a bunch of them on stock. Even if you had to go in there and you're like, oh well, we got to order it, so you got to wait. Like, that's fine, but I want to go in and hear it, because like there's really no. You can listen to an audio demo, but until you kind of get your hands on some of this stuff like that, you're not going to really know what the capabilities of something like this are. Right.
And I feel like at the same time, I feel like the modular game is kind of, the price point has reached a point where they should have, like, I went to Guitar Center where driven. And I feel like the modular, like, kind of idea and setups at this point would be a good, like, it would be a good demo piece. Like, I don't know why Guitar Center, I haven't, there's no Sam Ashes where I live, but they don't have a modular setup anywhere, like not even like behind the velvet rope to where like you'd have to fucking
VIP section.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'd be okay with that. Like, you gotta sign up to, play with this shit, but it's a little underrepresented. And I guess Agreed. Like when you have Nords and Roland Phantoms and whatever, like they kind of don't feel the need to have something that is modular or that might not be a self-contained sort of thing. But I kind of feel like they're missing some money, like in that regard, because I, for one, would much rather, like, instead of buying like what's Akai has a new synth out right now. Is it Audio Wolf? Synth Wolf?
Oh yeah, the Synth Wolf.
Synth Wolf. That I played with, and I mean, for that price, like it's cool. But if I could start a Euro rack, or some sort of modular setup, I'd much rather do that.
Oh yeah, because it gives. I mean, the Akai, kind of what you're gonna get. Right. With a rack, you can kind of get creative and figure out what you're gonna get. You don't really even know. You get some modules in there and start messing around and start adding stuff like feedback loops or these feedback pieces and different EQs and compressors and stuff like that into a Euro rack, then you're going to start getting something completely different. It's not going to be something that's just manufactured out of one manufacturer.
Right, you're going to get a very unique sound, which is what everybody's kind of striving for at this point.
Oh yeah, sure.
Well, at least the people that I make music with, there's a lot, and there's a lot of copycats too. But hey, to each their own. I'm not here to judge.
No. However, you got to get it.
You know what I'm saying? Talking about hardware, though, like, hardware is not a luxury that a lot of us get to actually ever experience, especially in the synthesizer world. Like, those shits are expensive.
Yeah.
If you're like a bedroom producer, it's kind of hard to justify dropping 4 racks on like a really nice synthesizer or, like even less than that, like 1,500.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, though, there are options, for people with smaller budgets to get into the hardware game. Some of us started in the hardware game. I know I kind of started halfway in hardware, halfway in software.
Right.
But I've seen a trend since the hardware is getting so the price point's getting so friendly. of people kind of like not necessarily being completely in the box. Like they're going almost solely analog, and that it's intriguing to see, like, is it going to go back to, no computer kind of, unless you're going to dump it down into Pro Tools or Logic, because I see a lot of people just like they're just on their modular synthesizer, and then they'll have some sort of drum machine like a Volca or something like that, and they'll just live jam whatever they're going to do and then put it out.
I think it's a very realistic thing, especially with storage being so easily accessible now, as far as, like SD flash cards and stuff like that. You could create something that's hardware that, you don't necessarily have to run it to like tape or something. That gets expensive and maintenance on that. But like, if you want to work on something completely outside of the box on some type of workstation, and then dump it down into Pro Tools, like you mentioned, I think it's way easier to do now that you got 256 gigabyte flash cards that you could slap into the back of a piece of hardware, sequence everything out and then mix it down into Pro Tools, because that's essentially what was done before. It all had to go somewhere to get mixed. I mean, even back when stuff was going directly through a board onto a tape, that was definitely a little different. But I think the nostalgia piece and like getting a good quality sound is good, but you don't have to go back quite that far. Don't cheat yourself on the technology that we have today.
Yeah, I definitely don't. And to say don't or do something, like it doesn't really matter. Whatever works for you, I feel like is kind of the mantra of the show. Like, don't fucking worry about what everybody else says, including us. Like just work however you work. But if like you are. Go ahead.
I'm gonna tell you don't do it, but do whatever the fuck you want. Yeah. Really. I'm not that type of guy. I'm not gonna judge you if you decide to do it that way. If you decide to go out and buy a tape machine and get you a Tascam, 2-inch tape machine, and dump all your beats down to 2-inch tape machine, more power to you, man. Like that's. Yeah, I hope you know what kind of work you got ahead of you though, because I remember doing it in school and it was no light work.
There's a lot of maintenance. There's a lot of steps that I just I hardly remember how to like run a tape machine. Anyway, the point is, like, if you don't listen to us, you can't listen to this podcast. That's the point. I'm just joking. No, do what you want. But also there is a trend. Like, there's definitely a trend in the circles that I run in and in the news that I get fed in my timeline. I know that Google kind of like is spying on us, so it's totally customized. What Google suggests for you is completely different for me. But I also see other people in the hip hop community kind of gravitating more towards sound design and like getting custom sounds and all that stuff. And I feel like that kind of arena is still new. People are still feeling their way in. Like, I think I brought this up on a previous podcast. Like, the EDM scene has grown so much, it's bled into everything else, including hip hop.
Oh yeah.
So like, I feel like that is a big reason why you're starting to see this movement towards getting away from just computer software based click and point or point and click sort of beats, and getting more into like more custom, like boutique sort of sounding beats, and another point that I wanted to make off of that is that a lot of the controllers that you use now, like, you can use them like you would especially with like the Contact stuff, or not Contact, Reactor, the new Reactor that they just released. You can pretty much get like the very modular feel. With using,
I think that was their design behind doing that with the new with Reactor 6 was, they wanted to give you a modular feel. They basically gave you a bunch of pieces that you could plug in there, which was a great overhaul for Reactor, coming from a Native Instruments complete user. Like, Reactor was always that thing that just kind of sat off in the corner and nobody really looked at it. unless you were going to use like the Monarch or something like that, something that was already designed in it. And I think what they've done is created a really great way for people to get in there and actually build reactor instruments, whereas before it was super intimidating.
Right. Yeah. And I've noticed that like even people that have software that are hardware that might require software, like the MPC Studio, they've been like almost using the hardware just as hardware. Like I've seen a few videos now on YouTube of people kind of closing their laptop or not using any of the software functionality in MPC software and just using the MPC Touch like a standalone MPC. And I've also seen people that are like getting away from the traditional machine MPC sort of drum machines and messing more with like drum machines that you would think are more reserved for EDM sort of style, style music, which is super interesting.
Yeah, I've definitely been able to do it a couple of times on the machine, even with the MK1 machine. Just I'll look up and be like, oh, the monitor fell asleep, because you really can do everything right from it. You can browse all of your file libraries if you put them in there. If you have all your stuff in one location, which sometimes I know can be challenging, but I mean you can have everything in there. And you're basically ready to go, and especially with the integration of like the native control system that they came out with I think it was probably last year. Everything maps now in a logical manner.
That's a big thing, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No. It's a huge thing. It's gigantic to have that ability to have everything already mapped for you and have logical names for something, not like just MIDI CC channel 18. You're like, what the hell is this? If I turn this knob, what is this going to do? Like you end up just messing up something. But having everything, excuse me, from either Contact or Massive and, their growing line of software that they support, be already pre-mapped out for you. That's huge. It's just user-friendly at that point.
Yeah, mapping MIDI, man. Like it's still, like you can do it and people do it. Like it's not something that is super hard, but it's just one of those things, man. Like for me, like when I'm making a beat or a song or whatever the fuck I'm doing, like the last thing I want to do is stop, right click, or Command L and then like turn the knob and then play, and I don't want to do that. So having an auto map is like, that's super. I think that's something software companies should pay more attention to.
Yeah, I think it's tough though, because like you look at like the machine or the MPC, and you have dedicated software for those pieces of hardware. Like if you just make a piece of hardware that you say is going to work with this software, you got to kind of write individual codes for all this different software out there. So I think it can become challenging, but I definitely agree it's something that more companies should do. Like put out hardware and like the Ableton Push, but I think it has to become a little bit more universal. Whereas
I was going to say,
yeah, because all of these Push, the machine, those are all proprietary. You can use Push with other pieces of software, but it doesn't work the same as if you were using it with Ableton Live. It's way more functional if you're in Live or if you're in the machine software, if you're using the machine hardware.
And it's interesting too because they figured it out as far as the audio codec goes. Like ASIO for all, that's what that was for. So that they didn't have to worry about, because all of the hardware manufacturers would have different audio codecs for their sound card. So they made a piece of software that I guess decoded the sound in a way that you can use it in whatever DAW or whatever you're working in. Right. It would be interesting if they could figure that out for like a MIDI solution. Like there's some sort of MIDI protocol that they could write that would communicate amongst all DAWs. I think that would be, this is me kind of spitballing here. If you were to fact check anything that I just said in that last exchange, I'm not guaranteeing you that that's exactly how ASIO works, but I'm pretty sure that's how it goes down. So, you know.
ASIO is basically like a virtual hardware interface. Essentially, is what I remember, because I remember that being one of the first things you had to use when you installed FL Studio.
Yeah, FL, right?
Yeah, unless you wanted to use the audio off your PC, which was not suggested, and could be problematic. So you ended up getting ASIO for all, and that was the go-to for the longest time, and it definitely
and Reason.
Yeah, and Reason as well. Yeah, because Reason FL Studio, that was all about the same time.
Yeah.
It started in FL Studio, and then somebody was like, "Oh, have you messed with Reason?" No, I haven't.
What? Red Rum? What's that? What's that Red Rum about?
Yeah,
that shit's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, and it's also that also like brings up like another sort of set of problems too when you want to switch from DAW based programming to just strictly analog, because now you have to start worrying about how you're going to monitor these inputs. Like if you don't have my Focusrite has kind of a virtual mixer that you can control the volume on the inputs through, right. That's right. Independent from the DAW. So you don't have to adjust the actual levels in your DAW. But if your audio interface doesn't come with something like that, you're going to have to start thinking about mixer. You're going to have to start thinking about cables. You're going to have to start thinking about outlets. And if at all if you want your hardware to interface with your with each other, it's MIDI cables. That's global preferences, all that shit. Like it's almost more trouble to do it that way, but more rewarding at the same time, because you can turn your shit on and get to going right now.
Yeah, and I think that was one of like the super rewarding things, was like hooking up a piece of gear and like, oh, it didn't work. And then you got to troubleshoot it and you're like, oh, it works now. Like that was super satisfying. That was a super rewarding moment. Like for the most part now, everything's done over USB. So like you plug the USB in and you're like, oh shit, it needs a software update. Software update's done. Okay, it works now. Like that's Beautiful. It. Yeah, you're ready to go. And like you're right. It is a beautiful thing. Like that's great that works. But yeah, there is definitely something satisfying to that feeling of, oh, we got to get the gear and get this arranged. Okay, now we're set up. And you're kind of going. Yeah, there's no. You take out almost a middleman by going strictly hardware. So yeah, it's a big jump. It's a big leap of faith. But man, you're right by saying that it is super rewarding to get it done.
For sure. Yeah, man. And on that note, I think that's about it. We beat that topic to death like a dead horse in a weird Western movie. Anyway.
Sorry, horsey.
Yeah. Please forgive me for that reference. We're done here. So this is the Audio Files number 8. We're signing out. My name's Rashad Peters. Remember, you can find us on Facebook at The Audio Files Podcast. Like our page. You can find us on Instagram at The Audio Files Podcast and Twitter at TAFPod. That's double D's on that bitch. So, and Dustin, you got anything you want to plug, man?
Man, keep sending more music. I enjoy listening to people's music. I forget the name already of who that last group was that you sent me. But man, that was A+ quality stuff. Like well put together, well produced, well mixed, well mastered. Sounded super hot.
Yeah, I liked it, man. IB Queese at IB Queese on Twitter.
Yeah.
Mike Chasm, I believe. I can't remember if he had a Twitter or not, but you can find them at 33-30 ENT.
Right. That's right. 33-30 ENT. Yep.
That's right, man. All right, man. We're out of here.
Peace.
Peace.